Hello everyone, this is the Punisher Mythos, and in this edition I am fulfilling my promise to you all by making part 3 of this series focused on Jon Bernthal's rendition of the Punisher. As most of you guys know, in this video, with thorough analysis of 4 elements, being physicality, mentality, military prowess, and the origin story, we will continue the search towards finding the most accurate Frank Castle. Now, before we get things going with the elements, I would like to take this time to thank all of the real supporters. I didn't expect the reception and the feedback in the various videos, and again, I thank all of you for your support. Now, for those that are supporting from afar, which is unfortunately about 90% of the viewers, I humbly ask for your support and to please subscribe. If you have any suggestions or ideas pertaining to content that would guide your cursor or finger to click that subscribe button, let me know. Now, before we go down the list of elements, as per usual, we will take a journey through the synopsis of both Season 1 and Season 2. The first season of The Punisher sees Frank Castle continuing his hunt for the men who killed his family. After discovering that the man he previously dealt with, his former commander, Colonel Schoonover, was part of a much wider conspiracy inside the CIA. Drawn back into a vigilante life, he finds himself tracking down Agent Orange and his former brother-in-arms, Billy Russo, who are both wrapped up in it. Along the way, Frank partners with Micro, another victim of the conspiracy who faked his own death to focus on bringing it down. As Frank and Micro partner up, they are tailed by government agents, including the obsessive but brilliant Dina Madani, who is clean, though her bosses may not be. Frank eventually takes down Agent Orange and his subordinates, culminating in a final battle which sees Russo and Frank face off in the funfair location where Frank's family was originally killed. After beating Russo and smashing his face into a mirror, Frank delivers him to Madani, whose investigations have put her on Frank's side. With the conspiracy beaten, Micro is free to return to his family, and both he and Frank are pardoned by the authorities, assuming, of course, that Frank stays out of trouble. For Season 2, the former Marine turned vigilante Frank Castle has been living a quiet life on the road until he suddenly becomes embroiled in the attempted murder of a young girl named Amy Bendix. As he is drawn into the mystery surrounding her and those in pursuit of the information she holds, Castle attracts a new target on his back as new and old enemies force him to confront whether he should accept his destiny and embrace life as the Punisher. Now, we will assess the first element, which is physicality. Jon Bernthal is 5'11", his eye and hair color is dark brown, and while he played the Punisher, he was 170 pounds. His body type is athletic and looks to be natural and one you would expect a Marine to have. In the comics, he is 6'1", eyes are blue, hair color is black, and he is usually 200 pounds. Unfortunately, according to the comics, he doesn't fit the comic book counterpart at all. I will give him some credit though, because Jon exemplifies the character so well that beneath the surface it doesn't matter on screen. I give this a 4 out of 10. The next element is mentality. I think that Jon's rendition conveys this element the best, and I think this is because of the benefit of time and space. Unfortunately, the other versions didn't get this luxury and it costed them greatly. Personally, I think this element was shown better in the Daredevil series rather than the main show, and the reason behind this lies in the resemblance of the comic book counterpart and his motivation. Frank's family is killed and it's time for revenge, simply put. In the main series, it seems that they try to humanize him a little bit. An example of this is conveyed through his interaction with Lieberman's family. I don't know, I am conflicted. I understand the dynamic because Frank saw his late wife and kids in Lieberman's family. It's obvious that this dynamic was used as constant fuel towards his motivation to bring punishment to those responsible. Lastly, when you think about it, Frank in the series is conflicted as well, hence he was initially done with the vigilante lifestyle until he figured out about the conspiracy orchestrated by Agent Rollins and carried out by his best friend, Billy Russo, which involved murdering his family. This is something that we all know for Frank adversaries is a recipe for disaster. I would give this element a 10 out of 10. I would have given it a 9, however, the series does a good job by making Billy Russo and Frank Castle enemies, and for similar reasons. In the show, he was behind his family getting killed and plotted to kill Frank and failed, while in the comics, he killed his loved ones and tried to kill them, and Russo got the same result. Now, with his military prowess, Jon's version initially got it correct in that he is a U.S. Marine that was forced recon and is in the officer rank structure, hence, in the show, he was a lieutenant. He also possesses that grit that Marines are known to have. Once he sets his mind on a mission, he will get it accomplished even when fatally injured. And if you guys have seen both of the seasons, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This may be an unpopular opinion, however, I feel that his military tactics in the Daredevil series were more in line with what the fans would expect from the Punisher. Comparatively speaking, I would say that you seem to only see that military strategy side of him a few times each in both seasons. Unfortunately, there isn't any love towards the Navy SEALs or the Australian Air Service Regiment in the Daredevil or in the main series, and I wonder why. Lastly, even though this may be seen as nitpicking, however, in the comics he served in the Vietnam War, whereas this version he served in the Iraq-Afghanistan War. Outside of this critique, I understand why they didn't put him in the Vietnam War, but for the video's sake, I have to be fair. The score for his military prowess is an 8 out of 10. Lastly, the origin story. Straight out of the gate, the origin story compared to the comics is completely different. In the show, his family dies simply because of the assassination of Ahmed Zubair, and William Rawlins, also known as Agent Orange, wanted to clean house, thus targeting Frank but getting his family instead. As you well know in the comics, due to witnessing a mob hit, Frank's family unfortunately gets killed. I will say that they did get the location and the nuclear family depiction correct. Frank had a boy and a girl, and the location of the death was at Central Park. I would give the origin story a 4 out of 10. Now, as usual, before I give the final score, I would like to discuss some notable mentions and some flaws that I have seen. The first notable mention is Microchip. I'm glad that in this show they featured their partnership. Microchip is a wonderful asset to Frank's war. Moreover, speaking of Microchip, I am glad that the Punisher used the battle van, even though it wasn't called that in the show, but real fans knew what it was. The third notable mention is the live depiction of the rivalry between the Punisher and Daredevil. When it comes to his flaws, why isn't his experience with the Navy SEALs and Australian Air Service Regiment not mentioned? When carrying out Operation Cerberus, Frank fought alongside the Berets, Delta, and the Navy SEALs. It seems like they pulled a Thomas Jane on this one. Another flaw that I saw was his actual rank before getting out of the military. He was a lieutenant, which is an officer rank. However, in the comics, he got out of the Marine Corps when he was a captain. Another flaw could be found when Gunnar Henderson recited Proverbs chapter 13, verse 6. You can tell that Frank and Billy Russo rendered him an oddball. Due to Gunnar's social aptitude and congenial personality, Gunnar was able to kill the awkwardness by laughing it off, which neutralized their judgment. This may be nitpicky, however, Frank Castle once upon a time was a devout Christian, so much so that he wanted to be a Catholic priest. I would like to think that maybe his faith changed after his family got murdered, not before it. Hell, it may have changed once he became a Marine and experienced some of the most gruesome and life-altering situations that are ever present in the fog of war, but who knows. I also found some flaws in the supporting characters and villains. Curtis Hoyle doesn't look like his comic counterpart, and instead of being a villain, he was an ally in the show. The only part that they get correct is the fact that they serve together. With Karen, the flaws found in their close friendship. In the show, their connection is strong, hence, they seem to understand and respect each other. However, in the comics, they were never close and never crossed paths because her focus, love, and attention was only on Daredevil. With Amy Bendix, Though the character's looks are displayed quite well, in the comics she is considered to be mentally challenged. However, in the show, she was always devising plans to wiggle out of duress from those that were after her, and for half of the season, Frank Castle. With John Pilgrim, though he isn't officially in the Punisher lore universe, was based off the character named Mennonite. The biggest flaw is that the Mennonite was limited in the weapons department because he vowed to never use modern technology such as firearms. In the show, you saw that he wasn't afraid to pick and use whatever weapon necessary to handle his enemies, and that obviously includes firearms. With Billy Russo, in the comics he was simply a gangster that dabbled with the Costa family, who was responsible for the untimely death of Frank's family. The origin is incorrect, however, the fate is still the same in that Billy failed his mission involving murdering Frank and got the reward of having his face ripped and mangled in the same fashion. The last flaw would be that they never explained his last name change from Castiglione to Castle. In the show, they make it seem as if the last name is random and was given to him by the authorities to absolve him from his atrocities. However, in the comics, his original name was Francis Castiglione, and he changed his name to Frank Castle so he could illegally serve in the Marine Corps a second time. Now, with the final score, just to cut to the chase, I will give him an 8 out of 10. To be fair, as I said earlier, Jon Bernthal had a luxury that other versions didn't get, which was more time and space to allow things to flesh out organically. Also, what really drives the score is the fact that his primary military experience is in the forefront and his mentality is shown accurately. Initially in the Daredevil series, his disposition may seem to be extreme or unfathomable. However, I think the main show does a great job on humanizing and showing that the Punisher isn't just some sociopath and does things from a genuine place. Jon Bernthal's version is a great representation of the Punisher's arc in the Marvel Universe. He is initially viewed as a villain, yet as one takes time to understand him, you realize that he is just a tragic anti-hero. Anyways guys, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please punch that like button, comment, and to the 90% of my viewers, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I'm out.